What's happening, Hammers? Dan Lawless here, back with another edition of the West Ham Week. That's right, it's where I break down 3 of the biggest stories from West Ham from throughout the week into 2-minute sections. And how I'm going to keep it to 2 minutes, I don't know, after this week's absolute shambles. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the notifications so you can be informed when we've got a video. And let's get into it because we've got a lot to try and squeeze in. So start the timer now. So, deadline day came and we signed no one. That's right, we signed absolutely no one. You know, I wore this yesterday, made myself look like an idiot for absolutely nothing. And it was all a waste of time. I cannot believe it. And people will come out and say, we had a good window. We signed Chicharito. We signed Joe Hart. We signed, you know, Zabaleta and Arnautovic. But at the end of the day, as good as you say this window is, how much better could it have been? And when you look at it, Zabaleta, he's a decent right back, but he's 33. You've got Joe Hart, is he that much better than Adrian? You've got Arnautovic, don't know where his head's going to be. And you've got Hernandez, who's a great striker, who because of our system finds himself on the wing most of the time. So, and we've got injuries galore. Our squad is so thin. We've got rid of like 17 players and brought in 4. It's mental. It's madness. And this is the thing that infuriates me. You know, you had Cavallo, who we could have signed, but the board didn't want to pay out for. And you know, I don't get it. The money was too much money. What? And we was told we was moving this to this stadium to compete with the big boys, right? And we haven't competed, have we? We're not trying to sign. We're not trying to kick on. We sold our soul to move to this ground. And what have we done? What are we doing? We're just being tight. If you sell your soul, you need to get something in return. And what are we getting in return? Mid-table finishes. It's exactly the same. We could have stayed at the Bowl-In for this. It's ridiculous. The board, I'm sorry, but I've never said this before, but they need to go. They're absolutely, categorically failing this club, and it's time for them to go. Absolutely ridiculous. And as like I said, if we've managed to finish 8th, you think to yourself, well, if we would have signed the players we need, a defender, central defender, creative player, you know, we could have finished 7th. If we finished 7th, we could have finished 6th. That's how it goes. As good, whatever happens in this thing, we could have done better if we made the right signings. We've got injuries galore. It's ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous, we had the mental news story that sort of did keep us slightly entertained throughout this terrible deadline day. Was Diafra Sakho. When I see on Twitter a picture of Diafra Sakho and it's reported that Sakho's in France ahead of a medical to Rennes for a £9 million move. I thought, why are we selling Sakho? We've got no players coming in. Why are we selling Sakho? We need to be keeping him. Then it comes out that he's orchestrated his own medical. He's flew out, he's skipped training, flew out off his own back to Rennes, sorted out his medical, sorted out his deal, and the club rejected it, £9 million. Sakho weren't happy about this, so he's like, right, I'm going to fly back and we're going to talk about this and I'm going to try and get this move done. He flies back for talks, but he can't have the talk straight away because he's got a horse race at Cheltenham at 3:20. And would you know it, his horse won. Yeah, that's right, you couldn't make it up. And the club said, no, we're not going to sell you. Palace came in with a late £10 million bid and they were like, no, we're not selling you. Sakho's been vilified now for this, and this may be an unpopular opinion, but I don't blame him. If the manager don't rate him, the manager don't like him, doesn't want to play him, why would he want to stay? Look at what's going on. You know, 3 games in a row. We've been absolutely awful. And he's thinking, well, look, we're not winning any games. And he's not getting a chance. The game that we did win against Cheltenham, he scored in. And against Newcastle, he still got dropped to the bench. So he's thinking, I want to go and play football. Now, the club are going to offer him a new deal if he plays 50% of the games. So a new deal in January as an incentive. But if the manager don't back him and isn't going to play him, what's the point? You know, I feel a bit sorry for him. He's eccentric, yeah, and he doesn't cover himself in glory all the time. But I really don't blame him for trying to leave and move to Rennes to play football. Or Rennes, sorry. So that's my opinion. Let me know yours. Slaven Bilic. What's next for him after all of this? Clearly, he don't rate Sakho. And the board have gone and said, well, if you play 50% of the games, you get a new deal. So, you know, obviously that must mean that the board don't see his future at the club in the short term or even the long term. So, you know, the one player that he wanted, Cavallo, they wouldn't go out and sign. They didn't want to spend the money on him. So what does that tell you? Then Apparently, Slav, apart from Cavallo, he's happy with his squad. We've conceded 10 goals in 3 games, injuries galore, and he is happy with his squad. I read that we were offered 30 players on deadline day. 30. And you're telling me none of those players could have come in and improved our squad. I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. We've got injuries all over the place. In defence, in midfield, striker. We need, some players. We're going to get more injuries. If Chicharito gets injured, we're fucked. What is he thinking? And it's one of them things. I don't think the board back him. And if you don't back him, then you've got to get rid of him. If they had this intention not to put the money out and sign the player that he wanted to sign, and if he wasn't, if he was refusing other players, just get rid of him and bring players in. Bring the players you think. Just bring us someone in. We need the cover. I don't get it. It's madness. So it seems to me like they're going to wait and try and make him quit so they don't have to pay out the money to sack him, which is completely mental. He could end up taking us down before he decides to resign. Pay the man the money to walk away and buy someone that you sign someone that you do rate and you do back, rather than all this doing everything on the cheap. They're so tight-fisted. It's mental. In spite of our club, they will try and save money. So there you go. That's it for the West Ham week this week. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, because there's so much to be said. So much I could have said that I couldn't fit into 2-minute sections. So let me know. Don't forget to subscribe. Share this if you can, if you're watching it on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. And, well, if you're watching it on Twitter, this bit's not on there. So, whatever. I don't bloody know. I don't know. So, yeah, don't forget to subscribe. All that business. Leave your comments. We're going to have content coming up. We're going to try and do like a post-window review altogether. So look out for that. Ryan's got a roundup coming up. And all of that sort of business. So, let's see what happens anyway. So... But in spite of who the manager is, who the board is, it's always going to be, come on you Irons.